So for setting up our overlay states, I'm gonna open my animation blueprint first, and here is my base layer, and here is our cover state machine. So let's first check what's happening if we hold our weapon when performing idle to cover. Here you can see our weapon, our overlay state is not properly working fine with our cover system. So for fixing this, I'm gonna open my cover state machine. Here is my cover state, and here is the cover state machine final result. So first, for enabling our overlay states, we need to set our modify curve for our base pose. So I'm gonna add a base pose, and so this is our base pose neutral, I guess. So I'm gonna set the base pose to 1. So now if I, after setting this up, if I grab weapon and go to stand to cover, you can see I can go to cover while holding weapon, and I can also go out of cover while holding a weapon, and this perform good in all cases. I can hold weapon, okay. So let's fix the issues that we have. For example, if we grab rifle and go to cover, you can see our rifle overlap with our body. So for fixing this, first of all, we need, so and also we have this issue, we need to set up the aiming from cover. So currently you can see our aiming is properly weird. Here you can see this is not what we want. So first of all, I'm gonna go to my overlay layer. Here's my overlay states. So I'm gonna fix these things for these 3 weapons: pistol, one hand pistol, two hand and rifle, and this applies to all the overlay states which you guys can change. So I'm gonna open my rifle. Here's my rifle state machine for overlay. So simply I'm gonna bypass this rifle ready animation state. So for this I'm gonna copy the rifle aiming, paste it over here. So we can go to rifle to this functionality. If our aiming is true, I'm gonna add a new boolean, and our cover is false, right? We can then only go to this. So I'm gonna copy the same nodes here, and we can go, I'm gonna call this cover aiming. So here is our cover aiming. So we can go to cover aiming condition. If our rotation mode is aiming and our cover variable is true, right, then we can go to cover aiming, and we can go out of cover aiming. The condition will be if our rotation mode is not equal to aiming, right? If I compile and save and grab my weapon, go to cover position, here if I check, no, it's not. So if I go to rifle, here's my aiming. If I pause, and so here's my, I am in cover aiming state. Okay, So for fixing this, we have our rifle overlay state is set up. I'm gonna go to my base layer. Here's my cover state machine. Okay, so we need our two more states, which is cover aim right and cover to aim left in our cover state machine. So I'm gonna add a new state, and this will be my aim right. Okay, and I'm gonna use new state, which is my aim left. So I can go to aim right and aim left. From idle, I can go to aim right, and the condition is if our rotation mode is equal to aiming, we can go to aim right, and we can go back to idle if our aiming is false. Right. So now if I hit play and check, you can see we need our aim right is empty, so that's why this is happening. So we have our aim right, and here is our base layer. Okay, so here is our movement state that we have promoted to cache, which is working when we aim. Here you can see the aim is working fine. So we will use this cache pose in our aim right. Okay, so I'm gonna search for movement state and add it over here in my aim right. And now if I go to rifle, here you can see I can go back to my aiming of rifle pretty nicely. So now we only need is to move our character out of cover a little bit. So for this I'm gonna use modify bone, which is my root, and I'm gonna disable the rotation and scale, and also for translation I'm gonna set to add to existing in component space. Okay, so if I hit play and go to aiming, and I'm gonna pause. So we need to move our root component to right side when we perform aiming. So if I set the Y, if I move my X in, so this is my X axis, if I move this to something -15 and see how it works. let me use pelvis instead of root. Pelvis, add to existing in component space. So I'm gonna use the values that I have created for my project and paste it over here. You can set it up according. You can spend more time and set it up according to your needs. So these are the values for my case, which is working fine. For root, I have set my translation to this amount in X and Y, and my pelvis, I've set this to this amount in my X and Y. So now if I hit play, you can see I can move out of cover a little bit. And here's the weird thing, that I can perform turn in place animation while aiming. So for fixing this aiming issue, turn in place, I'm gonna open my base layer. Here is my locomotion states, and here is my rotate 90 right and left animations. So I can only go to rotate right if our rotate R variable is true and our cover variable is false. Only then we can perform turn in place animation. I'm gonna use the same for my rotate left. If our rotate left variable is true and cover variable is false, then we can perform turn in place animations. Okay, so now if I grab weapon, here you can see I can no longer perform turn in place animation while aiming. So my feet are stuck to the ground. Here you can see, that's why my character is not properly moved. So for fixing this, I'm gonna use modify curve, and I'm gonna use the enable foot lock, enable foot IK left, and enable foot IKR. I'm gonna set these to 0, and now if I here you can see I can pretty nicely out of cover, and my feet are properly matched to my pose, which is pretty interesting and pretty good. So now our cover to aim right is working. I'm gonna set this blend time to something 0.5, and similarly we need to set our aim left and aim cover to aim left. So here is our cover to aim right. We need to modify the condition. If our aiming is true and our cover move right variable is also true, then only then we can perform cover to aim right animation. And if I'm gonna copy this same, paste it over here, cover to aim left. If our rotation mode is aiming and cover to move right variable is false, only then we can go to our aim left. and the aim out functionality will be the same. And for aim left, I'm gonna use the same functionality. For aim right, get the movement state. Okay, and I'm gonna use this rotate transform bone from my project and here is the values that you can use that I have set up, which is working fine for me. I'll move my root bone to 70 units in x-axis, and also we will set the fit lock to false when cover to aim left. So this is our cover to aiming functionality. So if I grab my weapon, go to cover, here you can see I can perform cover to move left, and also I can perform cover to move right. So I think the blend weight is too high. I'm gonna set this to what? So for aim right to cover idle, I'm gonna set this to 0.35, and for aim right I'm gonna set this to 0.2. Here you can see it's properly working fine. You can add additional checks for cover if there is not any space, only then we can perform aiming. So our cover system is working fine and also our aiming is working fine. Now the only problem is to fix our pauses for cover. So I'm gonna close all the other tabs and in my overlay layer, same as we have set up for our rifle state, we will set our pistol state. We'll use the pistol 1H aiming. I'm gonna call this to cover aiming. We'll go to cover aiming. If our rotation mode is true and our cover variable is also true, we will bypass this functionality by adding if our rotation mode is aiming and our cover is false. Okay, and we can go out of cover aiming if our rotation mode is not equal to aiming. So this is our pistol 1H pose fixed for aiming, and similarly for pistol 2H I'm gonna use the same functionality over here. This is my cover aiming. I'll bypass this functionality by using and cover is not and go to cover aiming if our rotation mode is aiming and cover variable is true, and we can go to cover, go out of aiming if our if our rotation mode is not equal to aiming. So this I have fixed these three poses Similarly, you can fix all the poses for cover system. So now if I go, you can see I can directly go to cover aiming. There is not any state. There is not any this state which is rifle relaxed or rifle ready state or pistol ready state. We can directly go to aiming. See? So the issue now, the problem is we need to fix our rifle pose. As you can see, it goes to our body, overlap to our body. So in order to fix rifle or fix any pose for cover, we need additional functionality which I have created, which I'm gonna use a new animation layer for doing that. So I'm gonna create a new animation layer. I'm gonna call this cover pose adjustment, cover pose adjustments. So I have already made this cover pose adjustment. I will delete and create a new one. Cover pose adjustments, and I'm gonna new. Here is my input pose. I'm gonna promote this to cache and call this input. Okay, so we need our blend pose by bowl. So if our character is in cover mode, if we are in cover mode, then we will, I'm gonna use a state machine. I'm gonna call this cover pose adjustments cover overlay pose adjustments. If we are in cover mode, we can additionally adjust our poses. If we are not in cover mode, then we will simply output our input pose. Okay, and I'm gonna place the animation layer between my pose layering and my layer blending. So here is my additional cover pose adjustments that we can perform over here, that we will use for our rifle, and you guys can set this up to all the weapons and all the remaining overlay poses. Here's my, if we are in cover mode, we will additionally use cover overlay pose adjustments, right? So here's my, I'm gonna create a new state. So here's my default state. I'm gonna open it up, and currently we have issue with our rifle. So for this, I'm gonna use blend pose by bowl. Okay, so I'm gonna get overlay state. If our overlay is equal to rifle, because we need to fix our rifle, so if our overlay state is equal to rifle, then we will use a state machine which is adjust rifle pose. Otherwise we will simply output our input pose, right? 0.25 and 0.25 blend weight. So you can set up this for your all the overlay states if you wanna fix some poses. So I'm showing this for rifle for now. So we need to fix rifle. If our overlay state is equal to rifle, then we will adjust our rifle pose a little bit. And here I have a new state. I'm gonna call this default state, and under my default state, first I'm gonna get my input pose. Right, and we will use our modify bone for our moving our clavicle or upper arm to a specific point so that the pose looks fine. So for this, first we have two cases: face cover idle face right and cover idle face left. Okay, so first if I grab the nodes from my project, from my nodes, paste it over here and connect it over here. So I have modify the rotation of my clavicle at this degree and the upper arm at this in X, Y and Z, and my lower arm right in this point. So these are the rotation values that works for me for adjusting the rifle pose. So currently if I hit play, go to rifle, you can see my rifle pose is adjust properly. But if I hit aim, you can see it is not well aligned. Right, so we only perform this functionality when we are not in aiming mode. So we only need this functionality if we are not in aiming mode. So that's why I have used alpha to a simple bool value instead of a float value. So I'm gonna use rotation mode. If our rotation mode is not equal to aiming, only then we will adjust our rifle pose, and I'm gonna hit play and see the result. Here you can see our rifle pose is working fine, and also cover to aim is also working fine. So now you can see our left pose is not properly fine, so that's why we need to fix our both poses. So for this I'm gonna use blend pose by bool. So if our cover move right variable is true, then we will fix our right pose, otherwise we will fix our left pose. I'm gonna use same node over here, our input pose, and these are settings for my left pose which works fine for me. You can set it according to your need and according to your weapon type. So I'm gonna show you guys the rotation values of my left arm. Here is my clavicle values, and here is the upper arm, and here is our values for upper arm. So I'll adjusting the same right arm for my both poses. So as you can see, clavicle R, upper arm R, and lower arm, because we are holding weapon in our right hand, that's why we need to adjust our right arm only. So now if I hit play, and you guys can see our both poses are working fine, and I can aim, and also I can move right and aim, and this is working in all my cases. You can add the bow functionality as well also. So I have fixed the poses for my rifle. You can fix all the other poses of overlay states as well. So I hope you guys like this video, and don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel, and also you can support me on Patreon. And I have also you can also get the project files from my Patreon page. So thank you guys, and see you in the next one.